So when you're thinking about whether to get divorced or not, you want to think about the entire process. And sometimes it involves children. Sometimes, one of the concerns you might have is what you're going to have after the divorce. So um, what assets or money you're going to have to live on after you don't have the whole thing anymore. So it's important to one, take a look at your income and your spouse's income. So if you have access to the tax returns or pay stubs of your spouse, you'll want to make copies of those. And then if you have an income, you're going to want to get that and have support numbers run. Support is based off of child support as well as spousal support or alimony. So if you have children and you're going to be the person that has the children and primarily, meaning more than 50% of the time, you're going to be entitled to child support, regardless of whether you're the parent with more income or not. If you have a 50-50 custody, and when the court's looking at a 50-50 custody, they're looking at overnights. So they're looking at whether you have 7 overnights in a 14-week span, or some in rare situations when children have very young babies, you might do 6 months, 6 months. But you count the overnights, and if it is a true 50-50, they're equal. In that situation, the person that makes less money is entitled to child support. So a lot of people think that when it's 50-50, there isn't child support. There still is for the person that makes less money. And then for the spouse that makes less money, depending on how long you were married, you may be able to get what's called spousal support, which is before the divorce action, but you're not living together. APL, which is what it's called when there's a divorce action pending, and then alimony, which is for a fixed time period after the divorce. So one of the things that you want to have is, hey, am I going to be able to survive on my own? Or do I need to explore how I can make more income of my own? So you would want to have those numbers run by an attorney just to give you an idea of what your budget might look like after the divorce as far as an income standpoint. The other part of it is your assets. And a good thing to do would be to try to start getting statements together of all of the assets that you might have, because the more work you can do on your own, the less it's going to cost you to have somebody else, like your lawyer or their staff, get that information for you. They can help you as much or as little as you want in that regard. But the more you can provide for yourself, put together a spreadsheet of what your assets are, what the values are, and then get the documentation together, will also help. And it'll help you realize what you're going to have after the divorce. Because in a divorce, it's usually going to be anywhere from 50 to maybe 65% of everything that accumulated during the marriage going to one spouse. That spouse with the greater percentage share is the one that makes less money. So even though that person might also get alimony, they're also going to get the greater share of the assets. A 50-50 case is when parties either do it by agreement, which you certainly can, that way you save in legal fees, or it might be when both parties are retired and no new income is being generated, or it might be when two parties make about the same income. So you'd want to take a list of what your assets and debts are, and it doesn't matter whose name they're in. So if you have assets that accumulated during the marriage that you think are yours, like a retirement plan or a pension, they're not really just your asset. They are a marital asset, and your spouse is entitled to the value of what you accumulated during the marriage. You may also have some premarital components, so you'll want to get records from prior to the marriage so that you get credit for whatever you own prior to marriage in that retirement account or other asset. And then there's some unique issues. If you've been gifted something and you kept it in your own name, it's just the value during the marriage. What you don't want to do is go get appraisals, because appraisals go stale. It's something that you'll do at the end of the divorce. But when you want to get an idea of what you might walk away with, the first thing you need to decide is, hey, what are our assets? And sometimes you might not know that. So it's not always going to be possible if you have a spouse that has a lot of things in their own name and they don't really give you that information, you might not be able to do that, and you might not know what you're entitled to prior to filing for the divorce. Once the divorce is filed, you'll be able to get all of that information. Unless they're hiding cash somewhere, it might be difficult to locate that information, but if you do know what you have, you got to look at maybe it's going to be 50 to 60%. And then if you get the support numbers run, based on what you project the custody is going to be, and what your incomes are, you can do a budget to try to plan, like if you're going to be the spouse that moves out of the home, if you're going to be the spouse that stays in the home. In order to stay in the marital home after a divorce, if you have a mortgage, or even if you don't, you're going to have to buy out the other spouse. So the other part of that is you might want to get your credit score, because you're going to have to qualify for a mortgage. And if you have poor credit and you don't have a cosigner, you might not be able to keep the home. So it's just something to consider. Or if you need time, you might want to delay filing for divorce, because you might need time to build up your credit if you really want to keep the home. Because credit is one factor, income's another factor. So it might be the case where if you've been out of the workforce, you want to go get a job, because if you want to keep the marital home, they will look at your support as part of that equation, but any income you can make on your own will also help. Um, as far as personal property, whatever is in the home that accumulated during the marriage, either of you are entitled to. You may want to take pictures of things if you think that it's going to disappear, if you're having conflict. But it really doesn't have much monetary value unless it's something like art or jewelry or guns that you can get appraised. You could get those things appraised before you file for a divorce. The other thing you want to think about is where you're going to live and what the custody might look like. And then how are you going to tell the children? Are you going to do it amicably or not? You never have to tell your spouse anything prior to filing for divorce, but the more you can communicate while you're in the home together, the more likely you're going to have an amicable divorce, and that'll keep your costs down, as well as um, you know the communication flow to allow you to see what each person wants, because one person might not even want the house, one person might not want the children. So you really want to talk out what each of your expectations are after the divorce, where you're going to live, and what might be a workable schedule for the children. Because having that certainly takes away the fear of getting divorced and not knowing what the outcome might look like. So I think it's really important to talk to someone, get the numbers run on the income, maybe talk to someone at a mortgage company as to what you would need, what your income would need to be for you to qualify for a mortgage, and project that you're going to be buying out that spouse, the percentage we talked about. So you probably want to definitely take that step too if you're looking to keep the home. So those are just some of the things that you should consider prior to filing for the divorce.